welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Courtney, and I always want to take time to say thank you so much to my new and returning viewers for clicking on my video and spending some time with me today. This case infuriates me. They all do, but let me tell you something about this case. This guy, I'm not going to say his name yet, I'm going to get there, but this guy, I respect confident people, okay? If you're confident, that is great. I respect you. I cannot stand a narcissist. And obviously there's a huge difference between being confident in yourself and being a freaking narcissist. I cannot stand a narcissistic asshole. And that's what this guy is. I watched, it was like an hour and a half or 2 hour long video of this guy's confession and his interviews, and oh my god, if there's not a more punchable face than this man. He makes me so mad because he is just so proud of himself and like proud of what he's accomplished, and ooh makes me sick. So sorry I got triggered. So speaking of triggers, I am going to give just a couple trigger warnings in this case. There is going to be very quick talk about animal abuse and brief, of course I'm not going to talk like in depth about it, but I will be detailing a little bit about some SA, which I'm going to start abbreviating for sexual assault, because like I said, YouTube does not like true crime channels, and they restrict us a lot. Sometimes, you know, channels get deleted like permanently, and I do not want that to happen to this channel. So just now you know what SA is going to stand for. I'll have to go back and look through the comments, but somebody actually did suggest that I do that, so thank you so much for that suggestion. That is what I will be using from this point forward. So today we are talking about the Amazon review killer. Raise your hand if you buy products on Amazon. Raise your hand if you read reviews for a product that you've never bought before. So I cannot imagine stumbling across some of the reviews that, well, I mean, actually, okay, I can't say I can't imagine it, because if I saw some of these reviews, and I'm going to get into it near the end of the case, but if I ran into some of these reviews, I probably would not think much of it. But now that I've done a lot of research on this case, it makes my stomach churn. So Todd Kohlhepp was born on March 7th, 1971 in Florida, but he was raised in South Carolina and Georgia. His childhood wasn't great. His parents divorced when he was only 2 years old, and his mother got custody and very quickly remarried. Like, she remarried like a year later, maybe, you know, give or take a little bit. But it was around a year she got remarried. So Todd did not have a good relationship with his stepdad, and he wanted out of there. He just wanted to live with his biological father. As a young child, it was said that Todd was just like vicious. He was very aggressive, a very aggressive little boy, and he would constantly be angry. Like, his father even said in a later interview that the only emotion that Todd could express was anger. Now, here's an animal abuse trigger warning. I feel like a very common occurrence with serial killers is animal abuse. When Todd was young, he shot a dog with a BB gun, and he had a pet fish, and he didn't want the pet fish anymore, so he killed it with bleach. His reasoning was that he wanted a guinea pig instead. Todd also showed aggression towards other people. Even when he was young, he stabbed a little girl in the leg on a school bus with a pair of scissors because she made him mad. He also took a claw hammer to furniture at home to tear it up and just be extremely destructive. During a later interview, Todd's mother actually says, you know, yes, he did threaten to kill me, and she said he was a big boy and I didn't want to take any chances. So at night, she would lock Todd in his room, and then she would lock herself in her bedroom to keep herself safe, which is really sad for the mother. I do feel really bad for the mother, because I can't imagine being so scared of my own children that I have to lock them up and then lock myself up to stay safe at night just so I can sleep. At the age of 9, Todd started counseling, and he was even described there as explosive and very preoccupied with sexual content. at 9 years old. He spent 3.5 months in a Georgia psychiatric hospital, and then in 1983, Todd moved in with his father in Arizona. He got his wish. He left his mother's house, moved in with his father, but the grass was not greener on that side. He did not have a good relationship with his biological father either, but I think that was because his father was never around. He was constantly gone with other women. However, Todd and his father did bond over a fascination with guns and blowing things up, which it's, you know, it's fine to have. I know people, you know, collect guns. If you're fascinated with guns, I'm not saying you're a serial killer. But knowing what I know now about Todd Kohlhepp, being fascinated with guns was probably a big red flag. In 1986 is when Todd committed his first recorded violent crime. He was only 15 years old, and this is when he was still living with his father in Arizona. He found a 14-year-old girl that his mother claims he had a crush on, and instead of just going up to her and being like, "Hi, my name is Todd, I think you're very pretty, I don't know, they're 15, you want to go ride bikes or whatever, you want to go to the park, I don't know." And trigger warning, I'm just going to very quickly discuss what he does, which involves SA. He has her at gunpoint and takes her back to his house, where he then gags, bounds, and has his way with her. And then he walks her back home. Like nothing happened, like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll walk you back home." And then he threatened to kill her younger sisters if she told anybody what happened. Well, this girl was like, "Screw you." She's brave, very brave. She calls police. So Todd is arrested, and it's said that while he's being arrested, his only concern, he said, quote, "How long am I going to get for this?" So this is infuriating to me. He was charged with kidnapping, SA, and committing a dangerous act against children. In 1987, he pled guilty to kidnapping, and the other charges were dropped. But he did spend 15 years in prison and was registered as a sex offender. But while he was in prison, it seemed like maybe he was going to try to get his life together. While in prison, he actually got a degree. He got a bachelor's degree in computer science. After Todd was released from prison, he did move back to South Carolina with his mother, and then he even worked for a graphic design company for about 2 years, and he went back to college and got another bachelor's degree, this time in business administration and marketing. Now, even though Todd was on the registered sex offenders list, he was able to get his real estate license in 2006. So Todd was able to lie about his criminal record and say that it was a huge misunderstanding. He made up some story about he was with his girlfriend at the time, had her out really late. It pissed her dad off whenever they got home. He called the cops and somehow landed on the registered sex offenders list. I don't know. Oops. And the thing is, it worked, and he got his real estate license. So Todd was actually the top selling newbie of the region, and he was really good at what he did. He was doing so good financially that he was able to purchase nearly 100 acres of land in his community, and it was a little over $300,000, and he spent another $80,000 to have a fence put around the entire piece of property. Todd often went to a Waffle House in Roebuck, South Carolina. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but he made the waitresses feel very uncomfortable. He was constantly inviting them back to his house, leaving huge tips to, I guess, to try to convince them that, you know, he was rich or whatever, and maybe make them want to be with him, which was disgusting. But anyway, he would also say super inappropriate things. So he made the waitresses so uncomfortable to the point where they would refuse to serve him, which good for them for sticking up for themselves. So they would not serve him. They would have a male cook from the back come out and take his order and bring it to him and everything. So now let's get into Todd Kohlhepp's killing spree. Let me set the scene for you a little bit. Imagine being a customer in Chesney, South Carolina, going into a motorcycle shop, probably to maybe look at a new bike or just talk to somebody about a repair or something, who knows. But imagine being a customer and walking in that motorcycle shop and finding 4 deceased bodies just laying on the ground. That's what happened to a very unsuspecting customer on November 6th, 2003. Todd had purchased a bike from this motorcycle shop and he didn't know how to ride it. I don't know why he bought it if he had no idea how to even ride one, but I guess he did just because he could. So he bought one, realized that this was a stupid purchase, I'm going to return it. Well, according to Todd, the employees refused to do a refund, wouldn't give him his money back, and was laughing at him and making fun of him because he didn't know how to ride it. So boo-hoo, poor Todd. Instead of just sucking it up and leaving, if this is really, you know, how the employees acted, he comes back later and pulls out a gun and shoots all 4 people that were working in the motorcycle shop, and unfortunately he killed every single one. The victims were the shop owner, Scott Ponder, he was 30 years old, a service manager, Brian Lucas, 29 years old, mechanic, Chris Sherbert, 26 years old, and the bookkeeper, Beverly Guy, who was the owner, Scott Ponder's mother, and she was 52. Police never suspected Todd, and they didn't have any evidence, and something that when I said earlier when I first started that he was very narcissistic and like proud of himself, during the interview and the confession that I watched while I was doing my research, Todd leans back in his chair, kind of like very just comfortable, and he says, "You know why you didn't catch me, right?" Like he wants to boast to the investigators, like, this is how good I am and this is why you didn't catch me. You know why you didn't catch me, right? Because I opened the door with my knuckles. And I wore 2 pairs of latex gloves, so there was no fingerprints on the shell casings. Even whenever I would practice shooting, I would always load my bullets in the gun with 2 pairs of latex gloves on, so there's never any fingerprints anywhere. Like, he was just very, like, matter-of-factly, very freaking narcissist. Oh, I can't stand him. Now, remember, this happened in 2003, so apparently he didn't do anything else until 2015, which I found very hard to believe because once in 2015, it's like bam, 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 bam. So I truly do not believe that he took a break from the mass shooting in the motorcycle shop in 2003 and taking a break until 2015. But I don't have any other information, so we're going to jump to December 19th, 2015. Johnny Coxey and his wife Megan Coxey were reported missing. And unfortunately, these were 2 more victims of Todd Kohlhepp. Todd offered some extra work to Megan and Johnny. He said, you know, you can come out to my property. You're looking for extra work. I need some work done. Come out to my property. I have nearly 100 acres and I need some people to clear brush on the property. So they were excited to work. They wanted some extra work. They were a young couple struggling to make ends meet. So they come out to his property and Todd says, "Okay, hang on just a moment. I have to run inside and grab something." So, you know, I'm sure Johnny and Megan were not thinking anything of it. They were just there ready to work. That's probably where their mind was. And they're waiting for Todd to come back out of the house. Now, when he comes back out, he has a gun and he points it at Johnny and shoots and kills him. So then he takes Megan, puts her in a shipping container where she's held captive for about a week. According to Todd, this is what he tells investigators. He said he was going to let her go. I don't believe it, but he says he was going to let her go. He was going to drive her up to Tennessee, give her $4,000, and just drop her off and just let her be. But according to Todd, she went crazy, that he says really rude, inappropriate things that I won't repeat. But in a nutshell, he says that she went crazy and she started a fire, or she tried to start a fire inside the shipping container. She was locked in the shipping container, so I don't know exactly what the point of her trying to start a fire was. Maybe he would see smoke and open the door and she could get out, but she tried to start a fire, and this apparently just set him off, and so he gets her out of the shipping container and shoots her in the back of the head and kills her. He buries the bodies on his property and then continues to sell real estate like nothing ever happened. Could you imagine this man being your realtor at the time and then knowing what you know now? So in August of 2016, Todd Kohlhepp contacted Kayla Brown, who he had known for a while, saying that he needed some work done. He needed some cleaning work on his property, so he offered the job to Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charlie Carver. So they arrive at Todd's property and they get out of the car, and I don't even know if Todd said anything. He just immediately pulls a gun on Charlie, shoots him 3 times in the chest, killing him. Kayla is terrified. She's frozen in fear, and Todd leads her to the same shipping container that he held Megan in. I feel like this might be triggering. I'm gonna just describe a little bit about how he kept her and very briefly go over what he did to her. I don't want to go over it briefly to lessen the severity of what happened because Kayla survived. Kayla Brown is a survivor of Todd Kohlhepp. She is a badass, okay? He kept her chained up like a dog, literally like a dog. She had a collar around her neck, a chain to the collar, attaching her to the inside of the shipping container. She described how her ankles were cuffed, her hands were cuffed behind her back. She had a little mattress to sleep on. Kayla tells investigators that every day between 1 and 3 p.m. he would take her to what she called the main building. And in this main building, he would feed her, he would give her a small amount of water to clean herself, and he would have his way with her. Then he would take her back to the shipping container, chain her up, and then between 5 and 7 p.m. he would come get her and do the same thing. He would feed her, let her clean up, have his way with her, take her back, and chain her up. And this is the hell that she went through every single day for a little over 2 months. On September 4th, Charlie Carver and Kayla Brown are reported missing, but Charlie's Facebook account is still active, and this is where Todd really messed up, thankfully. But I don't know how he logs into Charlie's account, but he gets into Charlie's Facebook account, and after he's reported missing, he's making posts saying stuff like, "Me and Kayla are fine. We don't want anybody contacting us. We don't want anybody to know where we are." He said they were married now. And then he posted an old picture. This, I think, is where he really messed up. He posted an old picture of the couple from Charlie's Facebook account saying, like, "See, we're fine." And you can even see comments. I don't know if the page, or if you can even find the page or anything else. When I was doing my research and I was looking at, pictures from reports, you could see comments on the picture like, "This is not Charlie. This picture is old. We know this is not Charlie. What have you done? Who is this?" And so people knew that the person operating Charlie's Facebook account was not Charlie. Thankfully, police were able to see that Kayla's phone was pinging at Todd's property. And on November 3rd, 2016, Kayla was found by police. Thank God. There's a video that I will put a link for in the description. There's a couple videos I want you guys to see, but there's a video of police cutting open the shipping container and rescuing Kayla, and this is why I say she's such a badass. For one, she went through all of this, endured it, survived, but she was smart. She was very smart. She very, very quickly started just like spilling information to the police, like, "Todd Kohlhepp, he told me there was this body and this body, and he told me he did this. He told me he was the one who killed all of the people at the motorcycle shop. He shot Charlie. He did this with his body." She just explodes. All of this information is coming out while they are like using bolt cutters to get a chain off of her neck. Like, she's just letting it all go. But she was also very smart to just kind of play Todd, and she did, and this is very smart, very brave. She played him the whole time that she was being held captive, just doing whatever he wanted to make sure that she would stay alive. She pointed out that whenever he would have his way with her, that he didn't force himself upon her, because according to Todd, he says he didn't believe in that. But Kayla said that Todd very, very clearly made it known that, "Listen, this is why I'm keeping you. This is why you're here. If you're not going to be of use to me anymore, then I'm going to kill you." So I can't imagine, but she just did whatever made Todd happy in that moment to keep herself alive. And oh my gosh, y'all, there is a video. Like I said, I'm going to post a couple, but there is a link I'm going to put in the description. It's only like a 1 and 45-second video, I think. But she gets up in front of the court and she's facing Todd Kohlhepp. I think it was for the first time since she was rescued. And she is just looking him dead in the face. And of course, you know, he's not making any contact with her, but she is just staring him down and giving information, saying how long he kept her captive. And then when the judge says, do you have anything to say to this witness? He just has his head down. He says no. But something else that Kayla tells investigators is that Todd liked to brag about being a serial killer. And he said he wanted his body count to be in the 3 digits. And as of right now, when he was telling this to her, it was in the high 2 digits. So I don't know if that was him just spilling some bullshit, or that huge gap between 2003 and 2015, if he really did have more victims. So why is this called the Amazon Review Killer? So let's get into that. Around the time that Kayla and Charlie were reported missing, this really weird account on Amazon called Me, just M-E, Me, was leaving some reviews on several products. One review was on a chainsaw, and it said, quote, works excellent. Getting the neighbor to stand still while you chase him with it is hard enough without having an easy to use chainsaw. And another review left on a folding shovel said, quote, keep in car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Another review on a master padlock says, quote, solid locks, have 5 on a shipping container, won't stop them, but sure will slow them down till they are too old to care. And that's why I said earlier, if I saw these reviews on Amazon, I kind of would just be like, huh, you know, like dark humor, like that's a little weird, but I'm not actually going to think that it's somebody who's using these products and leaving reviews on them that might seem like a dark humor joke to somebody else, but he's actually leaving reviews, and there are so many more. All you gotta do is get on Google and type in Todd Kohlhepp Amazon reviews, and there's a lot of them. But if you want to go check them out and read more, I'm not going to sit here and read all of them, but you can definitely do your research and find some. He left reviews on Amazon, and this is the thing. He's not as smart as he thinks he is, because the wish list, you know how on Amazon, you know, if I made an account Amazon and titled it Me, that's the account name, but you can have different wish lists and name the list. Like I have one for like household items and like birthday presents and just, you know, whatever, different stuff for the pets, whatever. The wish list was titled Todd Kohlhepp. Oh my god, bro. So obviously Todd Kohlhepp was arrested very shortly after Kayla was rescued, and he was charged with 4 counts of murder in relation to the motor shop, 1 count of kidnapping due to Kayla Brown's abduction. Then he was charged with 3 additional murders for Charlie Carver and Megan and Johnny Coxey, and 1 additional count of kidnapping, I'm assuming because he held Megan captive, and 3 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. On May 26, 2017, Todd Kohlhepp pleaded guilty to 7 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of criminal SA, and was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And since he pled guilty, he did escape the possibility of being on death row. And Todd Kohlhepp has repeatedly admitted that there were at least 2 other murders, but he will not give authorities any details, so I don't know if that's just him playing some kind of sick game or if there really are more victims. Like I said, that was a big gap in between motorcycle shop killings and then what happened to Megan and Johnny, so I don't know. Todd Kohlhepp is currently in the Broad River Correctional Institution, and in August of 2020, some of his belongings went to an auction and the proceeds were donated to the victims' families. So that's at least one good thing. So I want to know, what do you guys think? Do you think there are more victims? Do you think he really did take that long of a break? All I know is I think we can agree that he is an absolute monster and he is where he belongs right now. That is all I have for y'all today. I again want to thank you for watching this video. Please stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!